Welcome, everybody, to a very special edition of the Phazon Labs, powered by World 1-1 Podcast and sponsored by Phazon Flakes, a radioactively mutagenic, delicious part of your balanced breakfast. You can't see it, but the look on Steve's face is priceless here. So, joining me this evening, as always, is my co-pilot, Isabel Bramman.
Hello.
And for this wonderful special edition that I honestly never really legitimately thought we would have, is Steve from AM2R, also can be found on Twitter as Sabre230.
Oh, that's me. That's
you.
my name. That's me.
So,
for those who don't know.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Steve, do you want to share for a minute here your connection to the Metroid community? Because you have a special place in it.
I do?
I would certainly say so.
Okay, which one do I start off with? All right. I am a moderator on the Metroid subreddit. I created the Metroid subreddit Discord as well as the official AM2R Discord. I manage a few other servers, but that's neither here nor there. They're not related. But primarily, the reason I started doing all this was because I was the lead graphics artist for AM2R, which came out in 2016, August 6th.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about right. My memory's a little hazy. But, yeah, that was me. I worked closely with Milton Gwesty, and we worked together with a few other community members to put together what... I have no opinion on this, but what I've heard some of the people from the community say is the better Metroid 2 remake.
Oh,
Again,
said it
that's not my
publicly.
opinion. That's the opinion of the community, and I'm just parroting it.
That's my opinion. So.
That being said, I am incredibly thankful that Mercury Steam has been making awesome games so far. I still like Samus Returns. I beef with it in a couple places, but like 90% of the time, it is a fantastic game.
Mm-hmm.
Just they botched the ending, but what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, I've got feelings about that.
Yeah,
So
do I.
Technical sticking points.
Oh, you watch the if you watch the Game Maker's Toolkit, Mark Brown talks about all my issues with the game. It talks about how the ending was weird. It's like they completely missed the point of the original ending.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I'm actually a big fan of Game Maker's Toolkit, especially the Boss Keys series is delightful.
Oh, so good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's made one in quite some time though.
I'd have to double check. I know he's been doing Zelda games, and he also did Hollow Knight.
Mm-hmm.
He did the Metroid Prime games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I know he
very
did all
cool.
the Metroid games. So
Did he do all of them?
I believe so. I'm almost
Why do I
positive.
feel like you missed one?
Maybe Hunters, but I mean,
That doesn't count.
why bother? Yeah.
Hunters was good on its own if you were the right kind of person, but it's not. It's not really a Metroidvania game.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it.
I would love a
But for
PC
very
port.
different reasons. Right.
The multiplayer was fun.
It really was.
It was just a tiny little Nintendo version of Unreal.
Yeah.
And Unreal's fun. I like
was a
Quake.
lot
I
of
like
fun.
Unreal. I really like Halo. But what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Also, if I remember right, Hunters was the first DS game that had voice chat.
You had voice chat?
It did in the lobbies. You betcha.
Oh. Well, now I feel disappointed in myself for not trash talking people online, even though I always lost to cheaters. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Doc and I found a way to play with a couple of the AM2R community guys. With it was a combination of like Melon DS, and we had them pointing at a custom DNS server, and someone has a custom a private, well, not private. I don't know. It's a server that lets you play Metroid Prime Hunters online again. So you just gotta
awesome.
punch in some custom DNS magic in your internet settings on there, and you can play online with people again. So we had a couple of little lobbies, and we just played together, and got a feel for the multiplayer and had fun, and then got bored of it and decided to start playing Halo again.
So, this evening we'll be doing something a little bit different than what we normally do on the Phazon Labs. We'll be deviating slightly. And when you hear this, just, for a point of reference, the episodes that we've released thus far were pre-recorded several weeks ago, and before any news and announcement came to light. And so we figured we'd record this and slip it ahead of the other ones that are pre-recorded, so that you have something a little timely for what's going on, and we can enjoy our ignorance one last time in regards to Metroid Dread, and have our fun speculating before everything is given
Changed.
away and solidified and cemented.
Mm-hmm.
So the first half of the show this evening is going to be just kind of looking at dissecting and analyzing what we've gotten to see so far in terms of footage and interviews, and then the back half we're going to be kind of speculating from there as to what we think and or hope or want to come of all this, based off of what we do know, at least thus far. So let's dive right in. I'm going to open with our guest this evening, Steve. Steve, what were some of the standout pieces to you that you saw with everything that we've seen of Dread thus far? Like, what little details kind of speak to you?
Sorry, there's a spider on my wall. It's very distracting. I'm just going to go squish it. Alright, I'll clean that up after the podcast. Anyway, what was the question?
What in the footage and everything that we've gotten thus far, on Dread, has really stood out to you as kind of low key, but very possibly critical or important? What are some of the things that you've seen that have really jumped out at you and made you super excited?
I talked to a lot of people, both on the subreddit and the Discord servers, and I never thought I would disagree with people so heavily in the communities that I thought I fit in with the most. But here's the thing. When you play a video game at 30 frames per second versus 60 frames per second, when you're playing at 30 frames per second, your eyes and your brain are literally receiving half of the information that's happening on the screen at any given time. Whereas when you're playing at 60, you're getting double that of 30. It makes a huge difference. So going from playing Samus Returns, which was locked at 30 frames per second, and one of my biggest beefs with that game, and the biggest reason I think it needs to be ported over to the Switch.
Yeah.
And then seeing this new footage of Metroid Dread, and I saw nobody mention this, but the game is running at 60 frames per second, like solid. It only ever drops to 30 frames per second during cutscenes, and that's fine because you don't need to be processing information that quickly during a cutscene. It's a cinematic. Most movies run at 24 frames per second. Most cinematics in video games run at 30. That's fine. But having 60 frames per second running in your gameplay, that's a huge deal, especially for Metroid, which is frankly fast-paced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's the frame rate, which is a huge deal for me. As well as, and I know this is going to sound goofy, but there was a lot of technical polish that was actually missing in Samus Returns. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in the backgrounds, but a lot of the environments, for me, kind of blended into each other. I couldn't really tell which area I was in at any given moment. There was a few standout places that were really cool, but it was really hard to kind of differentiate most areas in that game for me. This new one, however, seems to have resolved a lot of those issues. I can tell the different environments pretty quickly. There's one that really stood out to me, where it's this kind of wide open area with just flat ground, and Samus is running through it, and in the background there's like a kind of a Chozo temple statue looking thing, and there's this light peering in from a cave above, and there's these water streams in a few different places that are kind of coming down, and there's a tree with these pink flowers on it, and the petals are falling off, and it just makes this gorgeous scene. And there's a lot of stuff like that I saw in this game. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. In one area, there's wildlife, which kind of looks like deer in the background, but obviously they're alien. And they're just in the background grazing, but as Samus runs by them, they stick their heads up and then they start to bound away, and their shadows are painting the walls while they're running away, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And nobody's talking about it, and it's driving me nuts. But the one thing that really struck me that was, again, missing from Samus Returns was there's polish in between all of Samus's animations, or even animations that were missing altogether. The biggest ones that stand out to me is when Samus goes into her morph ball, there's no animation. She crouches and then immediately is a ball. There's no particles, there's no effect, there's nothing. She's a ball. And the same issue is, like, if you jump in the air and you turn, in all the two-dimensional games, there is a turning animation for every single state that she has. So whether she's jumping and aiming up, there's a turn state for that. If she's crouching down and aiming down, there's a turn for that. There's a turn animation for everything that she has. But in Samus Returns, the only turn animations that she has are when she's running. Or standing still, but in the air, she just flips one way or the other. There's no in-between animation, which is kind of a bummer. But it's not really something that many people are going to notice, because apparently I'm the only one that cares. Or like how the space jump, there's no visual distinction that you now have this ability. The game tells you can jump multiple times in the air now. All right, cool. So when you go to do a spin jump, there's no visual difference. It looks the same as it always has. But suddenly you can jump more times. There's no indicator telling you that your jump is different now, or how there's no animation for Samus jumping off the wall. When you do a wall jump, you just spin jump in the other direction. There's no in between animation, even though all the other two-dimensional games have had this. They've sprite art can arguably take longer to do, and at the same time, they had a level of polish there that was missing from Samus Returns, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
Another thing that a lot of people don't make the connection about is how there's no speed booster, and this is bringing us back to the 30 frames per second. Having a speed booster at 30 frames per second is a mistake, and they knew that. They knew it wouldn't work, and that's why they brought in that slow down Aeon ability. I can't remember what it's called. And that was supposed to be the replacement for the speed booster, because it serves the same purpose from a gameplay standpoint, except you can't break anything with it. You just move faster and slow everything else down. So it has more combat incentive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of word vomit that I just dropped. And I'm going to go ahead and pass the talking stick on to whoever else wants it.
And for the record, I don't think that qualifies as word vomit. There's a lot to unpack there that's really good, but like you said, really isn't being talked about. Well, and granted, there's a lot to get excited about and talk about. That should be one of those things that they should be talking about, or at least us in the community should be talking about a lot more, and aren't. Is just the performance level that's on display here, coming up from the 3DS into the Switch, with going from Samus Returns to Dread. So,
and all those things that I mentioned were missing just now in Samus Returns, all of those things are in Dread. The turn animations, I paid attention to that. The wall jump, there's an animation for it. I don't know about the space jump. That's not a confirmed item at this time. With any luck, we'll get something super weird that does the same thing. I'm hopeful, because that seems to be what they're doing. Is they're taking a lot of the traditional Metroid power-ups and just kind of letting them go and trying a bunch of new stuff instead. And I am all for it.
Oh yeah. Well, and in doing that too, it allows them to tinker with some things and create some new ideas to play with that weren't there, while still being able to hold on to some of the staple functions that are required. Case in point, combining the spider ball with the power bombs in Samus Returns.
Mm-hmm.
There was no indicator that you could do that.
No,
but it was still fun when you found out. And that was another thing that had to replace the Shine Spark, because there was no speed booster. But they really wanted that speed in there. And if you'll notice, when you use it, it's really hard to see what's going on around you because you're moving very fast. At 30 frames per second, again, you're getting half the information. Your brain is only processing half of what it can see.
Right. But, so Isabel, I'm sure you've been, drooling over this as much as the rest of us. What's some of the standout details that you've seen thus far?
Well, gosh, the movement just, I watched the treehouse, I watched the trailer over and over again, just the slide animation, the wall jumps, the running animations, just all of it. Because the thing that I love about Samus Returns, and that's like one game that I speedrun, I really like the controls of that a lot, and like that game is really, I like that game a lot. So that's I love all the other games too, but that one is probably the one that I speedrun the most, just because I love the controls so much, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Mercury Steam moves forward with this, just movement-wise, and it looks like as though they're making it really sharp, really, really good movement, and I can't wait for the controls. Look like as though they're gonna be smooth as butter. I'm so excited for that. That's the one thing that stood out to me the most, I think, throughout looking at all the footage of it, was just the movement. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think, the main thing that I took away from it. Samus's suit looks just perfect. I love it so much.
God, yes.
Love the design.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, I have been feasting on all of the fan art of it. It's just is perfect. And just, it just looks like all the complaints that I have had about Samus Returns look like as though they are being addressed, or, completely, thrown out the window and replaced with something better in Dread. So that's what I am excited for, I think, is it seems like a natural progression from Samus Returns.
It does.
And melee counter is back. Yes. I am so happy for that.
I am glad they expanded on it, because it was a little two-dimensional previously. It definitely did bring the game to a halt in some places, because all the enemies are bullet sponges unless you counter them. Which, I get, they really want you to use the counter, but at the same time, I don't want to have to counter every single enemy I run across. It gets exhausting.
Yeah.
So I like that they're using this new one at the
dash
melee
one.
dash. Yeah. So now it's an
the dash
offensive
melee.
ability, and you can use it to maintain speed. And they said that they're not focusing too much on things that speedrunners can use, just like the last one. But it looks like they're taking it a little more seriously, and allowing the flow of the game to be more unbroken.
Yeah, that's what really excites me, is that it seems like as though because one of my biggest complaints about Samus Returns is that they put all this goo on the wall for some of the areas, so you could
can't wall jump there, can't spider ball there.
Yeah, so you were kind of prevented from doing some of the sequence breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't think there was any sequence breaking in Samus Returns, was there?
And well, I think you could do one or two, but it was really really like specific and that kind of thing. But it was like very limited. So, but yeah, because they had put up those artificial barriers, basically.
Right.
So
there was at least an in-universe explanation for it, but
yeah,
it definitely, I don't know, it felt a little heavy-handed in places.
yeah.
Like there's artificial barriers everywhere. And something that Zero Mission did really well was they opened up the ability to sequence break to people who've played the game already. And there's intentional things in place in order for people to sequence break and get things before you're supposed to. Like you can get the Varia suit before you ever go to another area. You can get so much stuff from Brinstar right away.
Yeah. I am just, like I said, the Samus Returns is the only game that I speedrun, and it's mostly because of the controls. So I am so excited to pour my heart and soul into Dread and get going on speedrunning that. I am determined to make that the game that I speedrun because it just looks so good.
It does. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. And like again, I know that we talked about this in like a previous one, but I totally called the fact that there was going to be a camouflage suit, in the in the game. So
honestly,
I'm
say that was
Prophet.
pretty unexpected for me.
Yeah. So one of the previous episodes, I said that there was going to be that'd be really cool if there was like some sort of camouflage ability for Samus. So I'm Prophet. So
that's awesome.
Thank you.
Isabel officially gets the called it award.
Yes,
just watch out for the Nintendo ninjas, or they'll think that you broke a DMC or a
DMCA.
They're gonna DMCA you because
an NDA. Yeah,
you broke an NDA. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, you broke the DMCA. That's what you did.
Yeah. Yeah, but because I honestly I think that's like the genius idea, a genius power up for like a stealth way that they're going with the Emmy robots. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It looks like they redid how Aeon energy works as well. As in, it works closer to the to how what I think they were called action points in the Castlevania RPGs.
Okay.
Particularly Portrait of Ruin, where your stuff would recharge. It seems like they're doing that. I didn't see any kind of Aeon pickups during gameplay.
Yeah. Oh, and if you watch, you can actually see it recharge.
Yeah, they say if you hold still, it actually recharges a lot faster. So if you need to use that that camouflage suit quite a bit, then you would stop and let it recharge real fast, and then pop it back open and use it. It drains faster when you're walking, is what they were saying. Makes sense.
It really does. I was just going to say that makes a ton of sense, given the extra that energy it would take to figure out how to maintain that camouflage while moving in real time.
Yes. I just hope that's not the only time that you could walk, because there's quite a few moments where I was watching them play, and they were just hightailing it through every single room, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, whoa, I really want to slow down and just walk through some of these environments. This is like really cinematic, and I feel like I need to do it justice.
Oh yeah, I can't wait
really
to
hope
waste...
we can walk.
Yeah.
It's such a minor thing, but you couldn't walk in Samus Returns, and I really wanted to. It does a lot to really soak in the environment,
Yeah, I can't wait to waste an entire run just by taking like screenshots of everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Although, depending on how system intensive this game is, they might end up disabling that.
Oh god, no! Please, no!
They did that for a few games. I think Age of Calamity was one of them. Yeah, like they have developers have the ability to disable the video capture backend in order to get just a little more power behind the system.
I didn't get the video. I just want the screen.
Yeah, I think the screenshots are.
Screenshots should be okay. I'm pretty sure. I think it was. There's a few games I played where they disabled video capture. and I'm pretty sure Age of Calamity was one of them. And that poor game, it struggles on the hardware so hard. It's a good game, but man, it just struggles. I wish it didn't struggle so much. It's fun. But we're getting off topic here. You need to stop me when this happens.
Yeah.
So
Larry, what did you think?
So there's been a bunch of things that I've seen that have really, like, my mind has zeroed in on. In particular, one from the trailer they put out. It's only there for like half a second, but they show a living Chozo.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I want to know what's up.
I was watching a breakdown of that earlier today, actually. It was in I forget what channel this was, but someone was talking about the connection between Samus Returns, the Chozo memories. Yeah, that one. The Chozo memories and that Chozo that we saw in the trailer for the new Dread. And they were going through and pointing out that Chozo, and spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't beaten the game yet, you better stop listening and go beat it. Anyway, so they that Chozo, that race that came, or that particular subsect of Chozo that came and met the SR388 Chozo, presumably to pick them up, get them off the planet, because they made Metroids which were causing more problems than they had foreseen. So they're like, hey, we need to get off this planet. So this other subsect of Chozo came down like, hey, yeah, we're going to come and get you on one of these ships. And all the ships come down, and that's the last panel is you got that those Chozo coming down and picking up all their friends. But when you get all the memories and you 100% the game, there is a 12th panel that shows that new subsect that came down to quote unquote save those Chozo race or subsect, and they just murder all of them in cold blood. And that one that is presumably the leader, that's looks like it's calling all the shots and telling all the guys in the background what to do. His armor is almost identical to the armor that we see on that Chozo in the trailer. So most likely that there's a very good chance that that's going to be our main antagonist for this adventure.
That's possible, and I've got some speculation on that, but we'll save that for the back half here. But it's definitely a thing that grabbed me very quickly. I'm like, did I see what I think I saw?
I believe it's canon that I forget which Metroid game it was that pointed this out, but there's different sub races of Chozo, and some of them are warfaring. Was it Zero Mission?
I think that's Zero Mission.
Okay.
At least the concept art for Zero Mission.
So there was there's subsections of the Chozo races that they're warring, they're warfaring. They're, I hesitate to call them like Spartans, but they're all about combat and battle. And it seems like that's the sub race that we were dealing with at the end of Samus Returns in that hidden panel. And I don't know if this is correct or not, but I seem to recall that the Chozo race that was on SR388 was some of that same like warring Chozo sub race
faction.
That faction. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. But that kind of it makes me feel like that's a supreme possibility, and that these machines that the Federation sends to this planet, because every Metroid game tries to make out the Federation to be this this omniscient, powerful, and goodwill force, except for Metroid Other M and Fusion, where they make the Federation out to be just a bunch of dicks. But if they're following the prime idea of storytelling, then the Federation can do no wrong. So they send these machines down to the planet to check them out because the planet's dangerous. And like, oh well, we're not hearing from any of them now, so that sucks. Send some more down there. That's what we did on SR388. That worked real well last time. Send more. And again, they're not hearing from him. So I think what's going on is they have these highly advanced Chozo that are, warring and, want combat. So all the Metroids are dead. All of them. Like, the only quote-unquote Metroid that isn't dead yet is Samus. And this warfaring race, what better than to take the last Metroid, get its DNA, and make more of them? Because those are some monsters. And they sure can use them against other monsters.
Yep.
So that's my theory that nobody asked me for, but I'm giving it to you anyway.
Now, I've got some theory that's in the same ballpark, but it gets a little more specific with.
Spell the theory. Let's hear it.
I'll get to theory, but I'm going to give you some dissection here.
Okay.
From something that dropped out a little less loudly was the Dread report. So there is a piece in the Dread report that is told specifically, like narrated by Samus, that says the X is a terrifyingly lethal parasite that takes over organic creatures, mimicking them afterward based on their genetic information. It once infected me too, but my life was saved thanks to a vaccine created from the X's natural enemy, Metroids. Not only that, it made me into the only being capable of fighting this creature that threatens the galaxy. After a deadly battle with the SAX, a copy of me at my full capabilities, I finally succeeded in wiping out the X along with the planet SR-388. However, one day, the Galactic Federation received video footage from an unknown source indicating that the X still lived. The Federation dispatched a special unit consisting of 7 Emmy robots to the remote planet of ZDR, believed to be the source of the transmission. Soon after arriving on ZDR, the whole unit mysteriously vanished. Does the X truly still exist, and just what is happening on ZDR? It's up to me, the only one immune to the X parasite, to go and find out. So we have story set up. It's there. They wouldn't share it on the video feed, but they've got it in print. Also, speaking of little details, my God, the renders that they've done of stuff from Fusion in Dread look so fucking sick.
They look very good.
Like, there's after this, there's a lot of things that we could revisit. Maybe that Fusion remake that Mercury Steam originally pitched. Because man, if it can look that good, yes, please.
I'd be okay with Fusion remake.
Right. Because that's how Samus Returns came to be in the first place.
Right.
Mercury Steam came to Nintendo and pitched a Fusion remake, and they said, "No, but do this one." So,
as it turns out, there's these guys that are making a different one, and we need you to do it better, or do your best.
Right. So, now, that said, obviously they've definitely stepped up their game. So the extra oomph in the Switch hardware compared to the 3DS, they seem to be taking full advantage. So I give them props on that.
There's all sorts of little details there too. You were saying, speaking of little details, at certain points, if you have, it's so specific when this happens. If you're going up to like a narrow area that's like waist high, she'll put her arm up and aim down the hole to see what's in there. Or when she's crouching, the little front of her boots won't clip into her legs. They'll separate and push forward. Like, a ridiculous amount of detail has gone into the way she behaves and moves throughout the environment, which gives me a lot of hope for this.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good. I want it to be good so bad.
I have faith.
Same.
It's very promising. Another piece that came around too, or that I saw just detail wise, I do remember seeing, because they showed it and they talked about it just a little in the treehouse, where these, like central computing units that you pull power from to temporarily power this Omega cannon for taking out the Emmys. I did see, because the one they showed in Treehouse was just kind of like dilapidated and lying on the ground. I saw a snippet of what looked like a boss fight where there were Ringos coming off the walls too. I'm like, all right, we're going like a very different version of Mother Brain callback.
Set of Ringos.
I did.
Are you making a Beatles reference?
That's how it was spelled originally, was Ringos.
Was it not spelled Ringos originally?
No, you're right. I think you're right. I swear I remember seeing it spelled Ringos at one point, though. But you're right. I think it is Rinkas. God, that's
okay.
been a while.
I think Ringos is better. Ringos and stars all over the place.
Yes.
So,
and when you defeat that, what looks like a boss or a mini boss, it's got a brain inside of it. And Nintendo sure did make a point of pointing that out on their Twitter. Like, they did that a lot on their Twitter account. Like, they went full Metroid for a few days. Changed their Twitter account to be one of the renders and had the their what's that little picture up on top of your Twitter profile?
The banner.
Yeah, they changed their banner to be Metroid Dread. Oh, so cool.
Beautiful.
But they were tweeting a whole bunch of stuff that, like, I thought were little details. Or like, little things for people to speculate, and then they just go fanning the flames and pointing all of it out. Like, yeah, it's weird how there's a brain in here. There's all these rings, like, from the Mother Brain fight. Isn't that interesting? There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
So that tells me there's going to be some goofy tie-ins. Maybe not silly goofy, but just interesting goofy. There's definitely going to be some tie-ins and references, and I really hope that they do more with they give players more incentive to go back and play again and again than they did in Samus Returns. Because other than going back and playing through Fusion mode in Samus Returns, I didn't really feel all that much incentive to go and try playing it differently.
Yeah.
Because once you have the counter down, the game is almost the same difficulty. Because that's the way you deal with almost every enemy, is using that counter. And you turn into an absolute beefcake the very moment that you counter any enemy. All your damage is still the same. It's just that enemies do more damage to you. So as long as you're not getting hit, which is, again, pretty easy once you figure out the counter timing, the difficulty is the same. It's you just get to run around in a cute suit that honestly looks fantastic. I just wish that there were different reasons to use it other than, the game is hard now. Don't get me wrong, I did 100% on Fusion. I 100%ed all of the difficulty modes except for easy because I'm not a chump.
So, but no, that's one that stuck out to me, and I have some possible theory on that. Another is just the suit design itself, because this to me indicates that one, it's obviously a progression from Fusion, but the fact that you see like that organic sinewy component underneath the plating, I'm like,
there are remains of the original Fusion suit.
Right. It looks like there's been some time that's passed where she's managed to rebuild some armor and basically screw it on, but not the full original suit. So that's kind of what it looks like to me, is that she's been hodgepodging some new battle armor together to rebolster what she lost.
Yeah. Because her armor in Samus Returns, it made her whole body look like a weapon. Everything was sharp and aggressive. Like, there was all sorts of design decisions there that told you that, like, she's not here to mess around. She's here to kill everything. And a lot of those design decisions are actually missing from this new suit. They're a little more delicate with the suit this time around. because it's not just a weapon this time around. Her mission isn't to go there and kill everything. Her mission is once again to investigate. And I
It's a
believe
little more
that her appearance
stealthy.
is representative of that. Exactly.
Well,
Just
that
like
and
it
her
was in
mission
Fusion.
is that and her mission is self-mandated as opposed to being contracted.
That we are aware of.
Right.
The story that we have so far is a little vague.
Granted, I'm definitely making an assumption here, but it fits with where things left off in Fusion too.
Yeah.
Given that she, the way they left things, she's on the outs with the Federation. So,
or maybe they're sending her down there and say, "Hey, if you go get our robots back, we'll forgive what you did." So she's like, well, I don't like having the cops mad at me, so I'll go do that.
I don't know. I have a hunch, or my gut says that she is still on the outs with them, and that she is going to be running in opposition to them.
I sure would like to play as a rebel Samus for a while.
Right. So,
yeah. Fun seeing that attitude come out.
Well, that
attitude. Oh, they brought it back. Oh, it's so good.
Yes.
Oh, that boss fight. The one where
Corpius.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
I think it was called Corpius. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that she gets the
Phantom Cloak.
Yeah. When she counters it, and not only and originally she do flips and stuff, but this time she grabs it and it tries to get away from her, and she pulls it back in, and she just keeps hammering it in the face, and then you have to counter again during that cinematic, and she grabs the tail and just keeps just hacking away at this thing.
It's
and
very other Emra.
That ending cinematic was so good.
Oh, with the flip through the tail. I watch that every day.
Yeah.
I watch that every day before I go to sleep. So I can fall asleep to good dreams.
My favorite Metroid Dread clip that I've seen so far is just that. And she's just in the back behind the tail, just looking mean. And she's just got that super confident stride as she walks around it, knowing exactly what she's going to do. Oh, so good. Oh, I cannot wait for this game to come out. October's like only 4 months away.
Oh, God.
No. This is only like an extra month wait compared to when, Samus Returns was announced and released.
Yeah.
How will I survive?
I'm going to take some time off to play that.
Oh, yes, I'm going to.
I am planning on playing that. I'm planning on taking my time off. I've already...
October 8th, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Let's see. I should have that day off. That'll be fine.
But yeah, that's a lot of what's really stood out to me. The other little piece too was that Corpius, if you go back through Samus Returns, it looks like there's a dead Corpius in the background in one of the areas in Samus Returns. There's something that looks real similar.
Wait. Oh, you said it's a dead one?
Yeah.
Which area was this in? Because all the areas in Samus Returns just kind of look the same to me.
Together, yeah. I don't remember what area, but I remember seeing it and thinking, wait a minute. That, and additionally, it also kind of looks like like it was also possibly genetically engineered like the Metroids were. Like it has a lot of visual similarities to some of the Metroid evolutionary stages.
Interesting.
Just without the nuclei.
Like it does look a little bit like if you took like an Omega one and you squished the face in and you chopped off part of the body a little bit.
Yeah.
Gross.
That poor thing. I feel bad for it now.
But that leads into some other speculation for the back half here, which I think now is actually probably a fairly solid moment to stop and take a break and let us refresh our drinks, and we'll come back and we'll start speculating on all the fun that we might be in for this October. So with all that said, let's take a quick break. Welcome back to the back half of our very special Metroid Dread edition of Phazon Labs. We've all stopped by and saved our game, our progress, so that we can continue forward. So if we screw it up, we can just, go back to where we left off. So, picking up where we left off, we're going to be speculating on what may be going on with Dread based off of the information that we've picked up and picked apart thus far. Thought this would be fun to do before the future cements all these details, and one last chance to let our imaginations run wild with Metroid Dread before we're officially told exactly what it is and what it is not. So to start, I'm gonna toss it over to Steve again.
Here it comes. All right, what am I speculating on?
Anything you want in here, anything that grabs you and makes you think, oh, I bet you that's this thing.
Man, I gotta say, with a lot of the new stuff that they've been showing, it's kind of hard to speculate at this point. Like, I wasn't expecting the spider grips or whatever they're called, where she can she gets her climbing abilities back from the spider magnet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Or she gets her climbing abilities back from Fusion, which I'm pretty happy about, actually. It was something that was very cool in Fusion, and it was nice to see. Like, she has some extended mobility. That's awesome. Let's see. The phase or the Phantom Cloak, I wasn't expecting that. That was cool to see. I think we're definitely going to see the Speed Booster coming back, because there's a brief shot of a yellow Emmy that is moving very quickly. Like it has what would traditionally be the Speed Booster stuff going around it.
Yeah. Like the after image.
Yeah. It's got like the it's got that kind of wave in front of it that Samus had in Other M. And since we're running in 60 frames per second this time around, I definitely foresee getting a Speed Booster back in this title, because that was one of the big things that was missing from Samus Returns for reasons I've already discussed. So I think we'll definitely see the Speed Booster come back in some form, and that's exciting. I also saw that there's a lot of people that were worried that the spider ball, or not the spider ball, but the morph ball wasn't going to come back. Like, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, I didn't see it in the trailer. And I'm wondering if they watched the same trailer I did, because there is very clearly some morph ball puzzles.
Yeah.
There's one spot where there's, she's crawling through the little morph ball tunnels, and there's some bugs in there, and she's getting chased by the bugs. Nothing crazy, but
yeah, morph ball is very clearly shown. So it's there.
If Mercury Steam has proved anything to me so far, it's that they don't do just palette swaps for the new suits. The gravity suit from Samus Returns was a fantastic example. That was such a good looking suit. Oh man. So I think that they're going to end up doing the same thing here. And my theory is that all these all this blue sinewy kind of tissue that's still on her suit, I think with each suit upgrade we're going to be seeing less and less of that while she gets the newest iteration of her suit back to full capacity. And I do think it's going to be different. I don't think it's going to look like the traditional ones we're used to, because this seems like they're ready to start doing things new with the series. They're ready for a new change, mix things up the same way that Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild, where Link isn't wearing just a green tunic anymore. He's wearing whatever you give him. I like the green tunic is the reward that you get for doing all the shrines. It's something you got to work for to get to look traditional. And I'm thinking that might be the case this time around as well, where you're going to end up having this brand new shiny Samus that we haven't seen. It'll be the new canon version from then on, unless Nintendo really doesn't want to let go of Other M's design and just wants to keep pushing that for some reason.
Yeah.
We have a nice shiny new Samus representation from from Samus Returns, but they keep pushing the other M1, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I'll never understand that. But Isabel, pick one. Throw me like one speculation you got.
My speculation, and this I might have seen also on Twitter as well, so I can't take complete credit from it.
Okay.
But my theory is that the Emmys aren't completely like, what's the word?
Evil?
Like, well, not evil. I would say that, like, you know, like that they can be hacked, basically. So my theory is that at some point during the game, Adam will hack the Emmys, and they will stop attacking you at some point, and
Is
then
he gonna sacrifice himself for Samus again?
well, no. So my dumb idea is that then they would become your friends.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And that's what you use to fight the Federation.
Yes, they would become your attacker dogs. Yes, that's the canon ending of Metroid Dread. Is that at the very end you take over the Emmys and then you take on the Federation with your robot dog army. So that's
And
gonna
then
be
Samus dies.
not that. No. But that's gonna be the canon ending of Metroid Dread. Is that you and your robot dog army will take on the Federation. So, and I can't wait for that to be the canon ending. But since I was somehow right about the Phantom Cloak, I'm 100% right about this, and you know, that kind of thing, right? So, yes.
So I'm gonna throw one out. I think here, because one thing that was mentioned in a follow-up or a second interview with Sakamoto is that his comment about this being the end of the story arc of Samus and the Metroids does not mean that it's the end of the series, that he's actually got more stuff in his head already for moving forward for future installments.
Mm-hmm.
That he's excited to get working on. But I do think, though, that given that those things in context, that there is a connection between the Chozo that we saw the snippet of in the trailer, that the X-Parasites are present somewhere, and that those two things connect to bringing the Metroids as a creature, as a species themselves, into this story, and that those three things together are going to give Samus the opportunity to put an end to all three of them at once, one fell swoop. Because no more X-Parasites means there's no more good reason to make a Metroid, and to make sure that it doesn't happen again, she wipes out the last of those Chozo that created them in the first place and know how.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. But the problem is that the Federation also know how to make Metroids too.
As was
They knew how to start cloning,
Oh, okay.
but they needed the DNA to start with. They didn't know how to make them from scratch.
Okay.
And there's no
I guess.
guarantee that that's the end of the Metroids, because as much as I know people hated it, Federation Force is canon. And the end of that game did have one Metroid egg go missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just off to the wind. And what was the time frame for that one? Was it between Metroid Prime 1 and 2?
I thought Federation Force, if I remember correctly, is after Prime 3.
Was it after Prime 3? Okay.
So that might actually connect into Prime 4. They may resolve it that way.
There's a chance it'll connect into this too.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. So, I don't know how much they'd want to push that, though, given Federation Force, while being canon, isn't really well known, or at least as well known as the rest of the series and the story.
I know I haven't played it yet. I was waiting
played
for
it.
it to hit the bargain bin, and it just kind of never did. And then I sold my 3DS, so whoops.
So,
I mean, I could do the naughty thing and emulate it, but I don't want to waste the hard drive space.
it's not the worst thing if you've got some friends to play it with.
What are friends?
Yeah.
But I play Metroid, alright? That's not a game you play with friends.
Right. Now, that said, there's an interesting opportunity here that I'm sure won't be taken, but it would be really neat if you could sort of multiplayer and somebody could actively take control of an Emmy to hunt Samus while you're playing.
Like a game of tag, kind of.
Oh, that would be interesting. I can see that. So I've always
feel like a
wondered how you could
callback
like.
to controlling the ducks from Duck Hunt.
Wait, was that a thing you could do?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you plug controller
How
into
does-
port 2.
What? Nah, how old is Duck Hunt? How old is Duck Hunt? I need to
Early
Google
80s.
this. It came out in '84.
Yeah.
This game is older than I am, and I did not know this. Oh, Duck Hunt is almost 40 years old. Oh man. Holy cow. That's wild. Oh man.
Some group speculation. How much time do you think has passed between Fusion and the beginning of Dread?
My guess is
Because I feel like it's going to be relevant.
Relevant or relative? 'Cause
Relevant.
I think it's going to be relative. So we've been waiting for. Let's see, Fusion came out almost 19 years
2002.
ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
19 years since Fusion.
So maybe it'll be 19 years since Fusion that Dread is happening. And
I'm not
this
going
is
to lie,
a
I would
much
really
older
interested.
Samus.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see like an aging Samus.
Yeah, because she's a hot young piece of something or other in all the other games, but yeah, I would like to see Samus age, just like we've seen all the other actors that we've grown up with have grown gray hair, and they're getting older, and I have all these hot new upcoming actors that are taking over the scene, but now these older actors are wizened, and they have these roles in their movies where they're the source of knowledge, or the Bond villain, as Pierce Brosnan sure looks like now. Have you seen a recent picture of Pierce Brosnan? He looks like a Bond villain. It's awesome. He's a good-looking man. He has aged quite well, so good for him. But yeah, I think seeing an aged Samus would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool, yeah. But I feel like as though the time is going to be relatively short in between the games.
It'll be 6 months.
Yeah, I feel like as though it's going to be like at most 5 years.
Right.
So,
It's not going to be that long, I think.
Yeah.
If it is 19 years, awesome.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if that means that they're looking for a way to remove Samus as the main character from the series and replace her with a different main character. I've had theories on this for a while, like little stories that I've wanted to do. I don't know if we talked about this the last time that I was on your show, but my idea originally, before Dread was a thing, but my idea for Dread was that they would pull a Metal Gear Solid 2, all the trailers and all the press information, everything shows you playing as Samus in this alien world. But then when the game finally comes out and people start playing it, you get to play as Samus for like the first 45 minutes, 60 minutes, and then something happens. And you play as this other character that nobody had any idea was in the game until it came out. Instead, you would play as this another bounty hunter that was hired by the Federation to track Samus and maybe not take her down, but capture her alive, because she is a specimen that they want to pull apart. So instead of playing as Samus, you play as this bounty hunter that's out to get her. and playing through the game, your character becomes more and more enamored by her cause, and eventually decides to break her contract and take up Samus's role because for whatever reason Samus wouldn't be able to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I thought that might be fun.
I would say that brings me to a piece of speculation too, that's what's going on with the Emmy robots, is that they are trying to pull genetic samples from Samus to yank out the Metroid DNA and isolate it for use again.
And they're very brutal about it. Oh man, just stab the crap out of her. It's
I
awesome.
mean, it is literally the Mechanical Hound from Fahrenheit 451. Have you read that book?
No, but I hear good things about it.
Oh, it is literally
Should.
the Mechanical Hound from Fahrenheit 451. Because it's got the big syringe thing. It hunts you down. It's literally that.
Oh
So,
yeah, I'm seeing some art that people have put together about it.
Yeah.
That's spooky.
Yeah. Which
I'm
means
into
that
it,
at the very end, they need to flamethrow it. Put a big flamethrower on it then. So, yeah.
So does that mean Samus is going to get a flamethrower beam?
Oh, yes. Please.
I love the flamethrower in Prime. That was so much damn fun.
I had a really hard time finding a use for it, to be entirely honest, but it looked cool.
Oh,
It
it was
just-
great on the Omega Pirate, especially.
It sure did chew through missiles. Holy cow.
But I will say another piece that I haven't seen being talked about a ton yet, but I'm really curious. How do you think we ended up where we did, starting at the start point of Dread? Because
That's
this is
very
going the opposite direction.
Mhm.
Like we're at the middle of this planet and trying to get up and get the hell out to our ship.
Yeah. And that's super cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting at the opposite end of where you would typically from a Metroid game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Called on a mine shaft. So,
I
that's
mean,
my theory.
she does. We do see her like sprawled out on the ground at some point in the trailer, or the I think it's the retrospective actually that we see that shot of her, and then we see another shot right after where it's showing those Chozo aeroglyphs. So yeah, I'm curious about that. It's like what could possibly drop her down that far beneath the planet, and then.
Go.
that reminds me of Metroid Prime 3, where in the beginning of the game, the first major boss that you fight is Ridley, who is just omniscient at this point. You will never be rid of him. And you're falling down this giant, like, I don't know if it's like a maintenance hatch or, what the true purpose of this giant, huge shaft is. But it does have a bottom. You can't hit the bottom. And I'm wondering if something similar could happen in this scenario where there's like a maintenance hatch that she somehow gets knocked into and falls all the way down it and then lands at the very bottom of this planet. And there's no way to go back up because Samus obviously cannot single wall jump in this game.
Unfortunate.
That's my theory. It's super basic, but I can't think of anything else other than she essentially gets stargated there, like warped there somehow. I would like to hear your theory. Quit letting me interrupt you.
All right, so here's what I got. Samus is en route, knowing that, or at least we know that the Federation has a head start at this point going there. And that on her way there, Samus gets intercepted and picked up by the Federation, and they've taken her into their base that they're working on in this planet, and she wakes up while they're basically trying to, extract that Metroid DNA for use to wipe out these X parasites, and she's like hightailing it trying to escape, from the center of this base up to the surface
Hmm.
to get the hell out, which would also explain the Emmy robots in the big syringe thing that they kill her with.
Hmm. I like that theory.
Like, she is full on the run, and that's not what these Emmy robots were made for. Which it's not, because they talk about it. What is it? Extraplanetary
Mobile.
mobile multiform identifier.
Mm-hmm.
So they're research robots, but I suspect that they've been repurposed to try and stop her escape from the center of the planet.
What are the odds they pull an Undertale and say that actually that's not what that stands for? It stands for, energetic, monstrous, mechanical ingester, something stupid that makes it like, oh yeah, that makes sense because it's a big, pissed off machine that's going to kill me at every turn. And it's suddenly, oh yeah, because it's it's a military weapon and not a research bot like they told me. And
I can't
anything
see
is
them pulling
possible.
The Undertale. I highly doubt they're going to pull the Undertale. They might, but it just it doesn't feel like the route to me. So,
and the crazy thing is, it could very possibly be none of these things.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Also, some potential speculation here. The Chozo in the trailer is a misdirect.
A red herring?
Because this could very well be just showing a snippet of Chozo in the beginning, in the recap. And then it's not actually part of the present story.
Oh no, I wanted a live Chozo so much.
It's entirely possible it is some kind of flashback.
Pain.
That's something Doc and I talked about as well.
Yeah. So I feel like there's potential that this is a red herring. Do I want it to be? No. I also feel like the odds might be 75% that it's not a red herring. So, but that's just me, especially given what the details that Mercury put in with the Chozo memories and Samus Returns. I don't think it's a red herring.
Okay.
But I'm speculating that option is definitely on the table. So
That would be quite the letdown because they sure did make them out to be very interesting. I really wanted to see what would happen next.
right.
Definitely captured my interest.
Yeah.
So here's one I want to hear theories on.
All right.
Samus's new suit. What do you think's what do you think is the story, the deal behind this?
I remember, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, there was another Metroid 2D leak. There's a Metroid leak every year. This is the first one that was actually real. But one of the leaks was talking about a Metroid 3DS game before Samus Returns was turned out to be a thing. I think it was a couple years before that, where Samus had been repairing her suit and rebuilding it herself, so it looked a little more primitive than what she had previously. It looked unfinished, which is kind of what it looks like here. Like we can see, the bolts underneath the armor, like the big bolts on the shoulders. It looks like there's parts of the suit that are unfinished. Like it looks like the shoulders are meant to go with different parts of the suit that she's working on that are not ready yet. So if that leak had any truth to it whatsoever, it's possible that might be what's going on. If not, then I think it might just be let me think. I honestly believe that it's something that she has worked on herself, but the white color on of the armor underneath all the blue sinewy stuff makes me believe that it's possible that the Federation might have been involved in some capacity with building her suit to be a bit stronger.
I have a theory on how that came to be.
It also makes me wonder what happened to the orange suit that came with the ice beam and fusion.
Right.
But the items that you have at the end of any Metroid game are entirely inconsequential and are never explained as to what happened to them. My biggest theory is that they go in storage, they go in a data bank, because perhaps she doesn't feel like they're meant to be used outside of where she's collected them. They're artifacts. They're like fossils to her.
I like that
while
theory,
useful
actually.
in the situations that she's in, she respects them enough to store them away and keep them locked up when they're no longer needed. So maybe going down to this planet, she feels like they're not something that she will need for this quite yet, because she's merely investigating until she gets knocked down to the bottom of the planet, and then suddenly, oh, I wasn't prepared for any of this, and now I don't have anything, and I have to procure everything on site. So that might also be something that's explained during the intro of the game, which I certainly hope it is. But what was your theory? I want to hear this.
Well, I want to see if Isabel's got one.
My theory is that the suit, the Dread suit, is not the first suit. Is that the first suit is going to be the regular fusion suit, and then when you defeat like your first Emmy, you're gonna take that armor from the Emmy and use it to bolster the suit and turn it into the Dread suit. So that would be my theory.
Yeah,
they
share the same white armor. That's actually that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah,
I had thought about that. The only thing that's stopping me from really attaching to that theory is that they show what I'm almost positive is the first Emmy of the game that's like malfunctioning and already half broken, and she's already got the Dread suit. So this kind of takes me to where my theory is going on this, and it's just a step further than yours, Steve, is that the new add-ons to the suit from above and beyond the fusion suit are something that have been a work in progress, and she's not done with yet, but she's been getting the help and the design from Adam, who's been with her on the ship as an artificial intelligence, and that it's got a little more Federation sensibility to that design as opposed to Chozo.
That is entirely possible. I keep forgetting Adam exists. You just have to keep reminding me. But no, that's a really good point. That is actually quite the possibility. Yeah. That'd be cool. No, I could get on board with that. They made it very clear that he is only there for lore. Like, he does not give her any advice or tell her what to do. He's just there to explain the world.
Right.
And I'm so thankful. I did not like his representation in Other M. It really bothered me. And it ruined parts of Fusion for me.
I didn't have as much issue with it in Fusion. And I do think that this may be an opportunity to explore and or develop Adam's character as well.
I thought they were going to find an excuse to retcon him. Like, oh, he's dead now. The ship blew up. He's gone. But the ship is very clearly back at the top of the planet. And it's the same ship as in Fusion because it had that same kind of purple outline around it. And, I sure do got a soft spot for that ship. It's neat looking. I like the original Metroid ship. Don't get me wrong, but I appreciate change in places too. Like seeing the Fusion ship making a comeback. Like it's cool to see it. I felt like it always had a real neat design. And it was a bummer that we never saw it in any capacity after that. So bringing that ship back, it's part of it's part of her Samus. It's just as iconic as her suit is.
Well, and that ship too also came from the Federation.
Oh, it did. That's right. Oh, that would explain why it had the Adam personality on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep, that's right. I forget what I know there's more of a story behind how she acquired it. I don't remember. Like, she got it out of some Federation scrapyard or something stupid.
No, it's because
I don't-
her original ship crashed into the asteroid field, and so they were
Yeah.
like, "Well, you need a ship."
So,
So
like, we'll just give you this one,
yeah.
even though it
Take
doesn't
this
look
one,
like
go.
any Federation ship in existence so far.
Mhm.
But it's yours
Right.
because we love you, because you're Samus. Now go kill for us.
Mhm. But yeah.
Shady bunch of characters. I don't trust them.
All right. So I got 2 more round robin questions. I want to hear some speculative answers, and then we'll wrap this up so that we don't get too long in the tooth.
All right, hit me. Not
One.
physically. I'm not ready for that.
No, we need Nick Chester for that, so that somebody can, punch through the internet.
Mhm.
All right.
There's a podcast deep cut if ever there was one. How do you suppose? Like, what do you expect or think we're gonna see in terms of end boss? Who's the big final obstacle to getting back to your ship and getting the hell out?
Hmm.
Do you want a sarcastic answer or a realistic answer?
Both.
Which one do you want first?
Oh, give me sarcasm. I gotta know now.
Oh, Ridley, of course. Yeah, Ridley's the best end boss. He's not a total cop-out at the end of the game. No. He's not fan service in any way whatsoever. No,
I'm
he's
with
the
you here.
absolute best final boss you can put in the game. Let's face it.
The-
Realistically,
I gotta tell you though, as much as I hated Ridley being there at the
The
end of
fight's fun.
Samus Return, that's it.
yeah,
It
no,
was
it was fun.
cool. It just didn't belong there.
It had no business being there.
No,
Like, the game ends when you beat the Queen Metroid, and then you have that
Yeah.
time to reflect while you're walking, like, making your way back to your ship, to think about, like, yeah, I just killed a whole bunch of monsters, and now I have this last one kind of floating with me, just being my buddy.
Mhm.
Weird. I wonder if maybe I shouldn't have killed all those monsters. Oh, well, now I'm getting attacked by a giant dragon thing, so no time to worry about that. And there's just hordes of strong enemies and ridiculous stuff at the end of the game. I got my beef with the game. Make a new area. You want to put all the badass strong monsters in an area? Put them in the last area. Like, make a new one right before you go into the Queen area, if you really want to do it that bad. But don't ruin the ending of the game just because you want to make more game. I get it, but anyway, realistically, I think it could be one of two things, because Mercury Steam has made it quite clear that they are listening to the fans. They're listening to the community, all the problems that the community had with this last game that came out, that we can tell so far have been resolved in this new release that they're working on. So I think one of two things realistically would happen here. The real ending is either going to be Chozo or Federation related in some capacity. I think that's the most realistic scenario. Or, and bear with me here, the possible third option is fan service, but not Ridley, because Ridley is gone and dead. They've made it very clear that he's gone. Thank you. Don't get me wrong, Ridley's fun, but I'm kind of sick of seeing the same boss in every single game. Which brings me to, I think that it's possible it could be something related to Kraid. Kraid has only seen, 3 representations, one of them being from a remake of the original game that he was in. And the second one, the only reason he was there is because he was one of the bosses in the original game on that same planet. Oh, he's back. Metroid Prime originally was going to have Kraid as a boss that you would fight. And it ended up getting scrapped, and then the artist released it, and this is what I was working on. This was supposed to be in the game. And anyway, but I think it's entirely possible that if they're listening to fans and they want to provide fan service, then it's possible the final boss could end up being Kraid, or he would be in the game in some way, because there's a lot of potential there. Not to mention Team Ninja brought back Fantoon of all bosses.
It was a cool fight, though.
It was a cool fight. Yeah, it was awesome. But weird. Like,
Right.
why Fantoon? Of all things, it made no sense. It was just completely out of left field. Let alone not telling us like who the deleter was, which is a stupid name, but I'm not gonna go into that. But no, I would. The most likely scenario is it's either going to be Chozo or Federation related in some capacity. Maybe a joint effort. I don't know. I'm a little rusty on my Metroid lore. It's been a long time since I read all of the lore from all the Metroid games and read the mangas. It's been a long time. I don't got time to read through that anymore.
Isabel, what do you think?
I'm trying to think. Well, the one that I'm thinking about that ends in tears and sadness is that you fight Adam, like a corrupted Adam, and then he takes over, like. But then the other one that I'm thinking about is that they somehow, for fan services, they throw in a Queen Metroid. So I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it, and it's like mechanical robot.
Do you think she'll have the Reptar spikes again on her back?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, they really leaned into the Godzilla movies for that one.
It still looked cool.
That was fun.
So.
Say what you will about Other M, the story was what the story is. Let's not, split any hairs here. But the game itself, it was fun.
Oh, yeah.
I had no problems with the gameplay except for the few moments that I had to go into first person to fight a specific enemy type. Because first person did not work in that game. The whole game could have done without it in the first place. And the one time where you had to find the green stain on the ground. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I
The
felt
pixel hunts were awful.
I felt so claustrophobic during that moment, looking for that green little blood spat, because there's no indication telling you what to look for. There's nothing that tells you, hey, maybe you should look at this little green thing on the ground. No, it's just there, and you don't think about it because it's part of the environment, and it's green, and it blends in with the green grass. And you can't move, you can't do anything else, you can't get out of first person, you just have to look around. And
Yeah, no, that was
I
awful.
legitimately got claustrophobic during that. But I'm ranting. Please continue.
So I'm torn. I mean, part of me wants like some weird X-Parasite Metroid hybrid thing.
That's like an oxymoron.
I know, but
I haven't thought about that since the Newground days.
I don't know. It's there's so much that could be done here. It's so wide open. I really just want something that I haven't seen before.
New and original, something fresh. Like, even if it wasn't any of these things, I'd honestly prefer it to be something completely new and different. Like, use a new faction right at the end of the game in order to kick off a new story arc.
And I think there might well be, because like I said he has ideas on where he wants to go next already.
Hopefully it doesn't take another 19 years.
Right. So, we'll see. All right, last one. End game. Does she blow up the planet?
Yes.
Yes. 100%.
Is it really a Metroid game if she doesn't blow up at least one planet?
That's true.
I mean, we didn't technically blow up Talon 4.
But
Or
we could have.
Aether.
388 survived the first time.
I guess so did Aether.
Yeah. And
But She blew up the phase planet.
Mm-hmm.
She did that.
That was
Mm-hmm.
weird. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Sakamoto did say that the Prime games aren't canon. That means that Other M also isn't really a Metroid game. It could work.
So we're not gonna go down that road.
Okay. But I have so many opinions.
You know, as somebody who's been moderating in the community, I think you'd want to avoid setting off that conversation again.
Oh no, I'm done. Like I came to the conclusion this morning. I'm stepping down. I'll give the community to whoever I feel is willing and able to pick it up, but yeah. I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to keep doing that anymore. It's just there's no real it's not fulfilling, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for me. It just makes me kind of feel like I'm giving my time to people that just do not care in the slightest, and they don't. Like we locked down the subreddit for E3 for like 2 days, the day before Nintendo's conference and the entire day of the conference, because, well, I've had some birdies whispering in my ear, and I had some prior knowledge, so I shut down the subreddit because it's just gonna be a shit show if I didn't. And most of the people were, on board with it. Like, yeah, get it, totally get it. But as always, there's always the, that scum that sinks to the bottom. Talking about like just laughing, like, oh, these moderators think they're so strong and powerful. They're like, oh, they should get a real job and do all this and this. And like, dude, I work between 50 to 60 hours a week at a casino. I literally don't have time to moderate anymore. Like, I want to try to foster, a clean and healthy community, one that loves the franchise that it's about, and one that's friendly with everybody. And trying to do that for this particular series is, I don't know, maybe I'm just doing it wrong, but it is so difficult to get these guys to be nice to each other that I'm at the point where I've just started banning people for disturbing the peace at this point. And I know that's not the right way to moderate, and that's another reason I'm stepping down, is because I just don't think I'm capable of doing it right anymore. I don't have that kind of time, I don't have that kind of patience. And more than anything else, I'm not nearly as nice as I used to be. I've become a dick in the last 6 years. And I kind of don't want to be the lightning rod in the community, so I'm gonna back away before I, really upset some people.
Mm.
Well,
What a great note to end on.
Pretty dreadful, I'd say. Yeah.
Can
Can you tell I've been stressed out?
Not in the least. So, I think that's a fine note to leave off on, unless you guys have anything else you want to toss in before we wrap this up for the evening.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No, I'm good. I need to clean these spider guts off my wall. She's been staring at me this whole time. As soon as we started recording, it just decided to make its presence known, and it sure has just been there. Just
The anger
distracting
making
me.
a comeback,
So
and they started
gross.
with your house.
Mhm.
It's okay. I'll clean it off and get it all taken care of. Like at this point, if it's in my room, it is an intruder.
Fair enough. All right. So I want to say thank you to both Isabel and Steve for joining me this evening for a very special Metroid Dread edition of Phazon Labs. We'll be back to the regularly scheduled programming the following week. We're looking to make Mondays going to be the official drop day for Phazon Labs on the weekly going forward, so you know what to look forward to. If you haven't already, make sure you're following us over on Twitter. That's at Phazon Labs. Also, make sure you check out Isabel, who's doing at Metroid 35, putting together the fanzine, and Steve over here, you can find on their Twitters at Sabre230, Sabre, not the other way around. And that's and make sure you check out the World 1-1 Twitter as well, and check out the rest of the World 1-1 podcast. Some relevant stuff recently. Last couple episodes that went up, we had a interview recorded back in January with Milton Guasti. What was that?
Oh, sorry. I was just mouthing to myself. I wasn't saying anything. You're good.
Oh, it's all good. I had a fear I was pronouncing it wrong, but I had to remind myself, wait, no, Milton said I actually got it right.
Yeah, it takes some effort to pronounce it, so whenever I hear it, I just kind of try to pronounce it under my breath. Like, I got it. All right.
And then a following episode on the introduction of the term microvania into your new gaming vernacular that you should go check out as well. Mm-hmm. So some good stuff to check out. Forthcoming episodes of Phazon Labs, so make sure you stay tuned. Slip us into your RSS feed. Pick us up on YouTube. All of the fun places that you can download your favorite podcasts. And with that, I think we'll close out and say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
We'll see you next mission. Peace!